the portrait, not the portrait itself. Today we can have even sculptures. Of course, in Malaysia we ban sculptures. Only Tunku's such sculpture is there, but nobody else. I would like to have a big sculpture of myself, statue of myself done in stone, maybe 40 feet tall. As long as you don't worship it, it isn't wrong. Don't worship it. You are intelligent enough. So these fatwas that are made from time to time are not laws, are not Islamic laws. They are just opinions. And probably they were made because of lack of knowledge. That is why if you have to make a fatwa, it has to be done systematically. It has to go through the process like the laws of the country. It goes through the cabinet and through the parliament and through the king before it becomes fatwa. But here in Malaysia, anybody can make a fatwa. And if you go against the fatwa, you will be dragged to court. I think there is one of our friends now who has been accused of being anti-hadith, who will be tried and sentenced to jail perhaps because he went against a fatwa. So we are going away from the teachings of Islam because we allow these interpretations to be accepted as if they are laws. They are not. But if you go to the Quran and you read it, you will get great guidance. There is no necessity for us to Islamize this, Islamize that. Yes, we have a building like this. If it doesn't have those arches, it's not Islam. Well, sometimes we have arches because they are good to look at, but it's not necessarily Islamic. So there are far too many things now which attract the attention of these people, and they want to make it Islamic according to their version of Islam. And now I have occasion recently to write a letter to the minister. I have not received any reply, of course, because now people are scared to come and see me. Even today, I think quite a lot of people preferred not to come because action may be taken against them. Well, I wrote to the minister regarding the decision, Malaysian decision not to accept beef slaughtered by Muslims in Japan. Beef slaughtered by Muslims in Australia and New Zealand are acceptable. The reason why the beef from Japan is not accepted is because the Japanese cow is very big and it's difficult to stun it. The gun, the stun gun that they use is not enough to stun the animal. Therefore, it is not, meat from that animal is not considered as halal. So we don't accept Japanese beef, but we accept Wagyu beef from Australia and New Zealand. But the condition that is imposed by Islam is to slaughter the animal while it is alive. If a cow is knocked down by a car on the road, and it is still alive, though not conscious, you can slaughter it according to the Muslim rites, and that beef is not haram, is halal. The cow is not conscious, it's been knocked down, and then it is slaughtered. So in Australia, they use a stun gun to render the animal unconscious, and then they slaughter it, still alive. You know, we want the blood to flow out, the heart to be beating, the blood to go out, because we don't eat blood, we don't drink blood. So it is halal from Australia. But because of these big cows in Japan, and these cows are very strong, just shooting them doesn't render them fully unconscious, and therefore slaughtering them is not considered as halal. That part about conscious or not conscious has nothing to do with Islam. What is important is that you slaughter it, you cut the neck so that the blood can flow out. That is what is required. About being half conscious, half unconscious, whatever, is a condition imposed by the Japanese government which does not allow you to slaughter animals in the way that we slaughter animals. To comply with the Japanese condition, we have to stunt the animal. Otherwise, we don't have to stunt the animal. We don't have to bother whether it is conscious, half conscious. As long as it is not dead, then the meat would be halal. But because the Japanese bull is too big and does not really get unconscious, therefore it is not halal. Some Japanese condition has been accepted into the Muslim teaching, Islamic teaching, that the animal must be totally unconscious. So you can see that sometimes we lose our way in our attempt to Islamize everything. We cannot do everything in the same way. In Malaysia, women cover their heads, but in Saudi Arabia, they have to cover their face. Are they more Muslim than the Muslims here who cover only their heads, or who do not cover their heads at all? I don't think that is the criteria that you determine how strong is the commitment to Islam a person is. Some people cover their heads, some people don't, some people cover their head and face and body. And yet in the Quran it says that you must keep your hands and your face uncovered. That's what the Quran teaches us. And yet these people must insist that you have to cover yourself and look through slits and be very uncomfortable, especially in the hot weather in those countries. So it is not the teachings of Islam which is a problem. If you go to the Quran, you follow the Quran, there is no problem. You will become successful in business or in politics or in any field. If you follow what is in the Quran, you will be, well, an asset to your Muslim community. You will certainly be scientists and mathematicians, because the first message to Muhammad was Iqra. Iqra is translated as read. It doesn't say read only religious book, because this was the first message received by the Prophet. Is there any book on Islam? When the Prophet was receiving his first message, surely there cannot be. And yet he is asked to read. What is there to read? There is the Injil, there is the Torah, and there are many books on philosophy, on science, etc. And the early Muslims read all this, and they became very knowledgeable about science, about mathematics, about navigation, about everything. In the 15th century of the Christian era, a fatwa was given that read means read only about religion. You get no merit if you read about science and history and whatever. So the Muslim scholars started reading only about religion, neglecting science, neglecting mathematics, and as a result, they became very backward. While the Christian or the Europeans, having taken the knowledge from the Muslims, went on to build their empires, to win wars, to produce battleships and airplanes and all that, the Muslims can only baca doa, semayang hajat. The fact that the Quran says your doa, your semayang hajat will only be makbulkan oleh Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala if you do something about it. if you try to improve the situation, then one day Allah will help you. That's in the Quran. But we stop short at baca doa, and then we semayang hajat, mintalah supaya kami diselamatkan daripada IS and all that. That's what we do. But we are asked and joined by the Quran to do something for yourself. That part you don't read. I don't think many people read that part, but it is there in the Quran. That is why I say that if you want Islam, it is in the Quran. The others you can reject, but the Quran you cannot. There is no necessity to Islamize everything. Of course, some of the things you need to abstain from because it is forbidden by Islam. But other things which are not forbidden, there is no necessity for you to give a fatwa to make it more Islamic, to Islamize the carrying the deceased person to the grave. It must be pulled by ropes. Imagine all the ropes that you have, all the number of deaths in Kuala Lumpur with a population of almost 7 million every day. Some Muslim is dying somewhere, and you see them carrying this way, that way, this. We are using motorized vehicle now. And yet, because you don't follow the Quran, but you follow more the teachings of these people, we have lost our way. And there is a fact that we have lost our way. And the Malay saying is that, apabila kamu sesat jalan, kembalilah kepada pangkal jalan. When you have lost your way, go back to the beginning. And the beginning of Islam, I don't know who can dispute this, the beginning of Islam is the message received by the Prophet, which is now all in the Quran. It is far better to follow the Quran than the opinions of some people, however learned they may be, or even their interpretation of the hadith. Because as you know, when Bukhari studied the hadith, there were 600,000 hadiths. Out of 600,000, he rejected almost all, leaving only 7,000 of the hadiths, which he verified. But it is not necessary that what he verifies is in fact the correct hadith, because he is a mere human being. Other students of the hadith may interpret differently and accept different hadith. So we can use the hadith as a guidance. But it is far better for us to read the Quran, to understand the Quran in a language that we can understand. So Islam is a great religion. It is a kind religion. Allah is a very compassionate and merciful Allah, God. It's not a bengis God. God, some people may think about God being, very fierce, always wanting to kill people. Some religion, they have to have human sacrifice and all that. Islam is not like that. Islam is a very kindly religion. And because we have deserted the Quran and gone on to Islamization of all kinds of things, we have strayed away from the teachings of Islam. And therefore, we have to pay the high price that we are paying now. Thank you very much.
Yang amat berbahagia Tun,